Hi and welcome to the channel. My name's Drew. This is Just a Guy Linux. And in the last video I mentioned that I was not planning on moving over to Hyprland on my production machine. And it had nothing to do with Hyprland, but it had to do with Debian testing and how it wasn't working with my printers and scanner. And I fixed that so on my test machine. And this is what you're looking at right now is my test machine. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to try and do something with Hyprland, at least on this test machine, because people have been asking about that. But before I do that, let me talk about the first video I did on this, so basically part one. And it has to do with the installation, okay? Now, in the installation script that I wrote, these bash scripts, notice that the version here was specific. It was version 35. And last week, Hyprland came out with version 36. I tried to install that on Debian testing, and it did not work very well. So just so that you know, this is an older version of Hyprland, just one version ago, that is working pretty well, actually, okay? If you had not seen that video, I don't even think I mentioned this particular line in the bash script that I wrote. So regardless, I just wanted to make that clear. We are not on the latest and greatest of Hyprland. If you look over here, the greatest is v0.36. So just full disclosure. If you did not see the video, let me just refer to it really quickly, okay? It is at this particular GitHub, and I will put that in the description below. With regard to the actual installer itself, basically it is importing these bash scripts, and, so all the dependencies necessary, additional way packages, that's what I called this, but you get the idea. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be installed for it to work well. And then as far as file manager, I'm using Thunar, and this is the installation of Hyprland. As I mentioned before, this is one version ago. I installed nwg-look, as well as a bunch of fonts, including nerd fonts, and the version of Rofi Wayland, okay? And as far as SDDM, the login manager, I use that, and I'm not going to change that. But on this particular test machine, I actually have switched it to GDM. Okay. So what you're looking at here is Genie and the Hyprland configuration files. Now, before I go any further, most of what you're seeing here has been modified from what Matt at the Linux Cast has done and is on his dot files. Now, here are the differences. I had a way bar configuration file that I was using for Sway, and it worked. Okay, but I really liked his, so I thought that this was just better, flat out. It's better. So there have been some modifications because Matt uses something called Hyprland, which is an extension of Hyprland. It's got some really cool stuff. I just don't use it. As well as he's got like a 3-monitor setup, and I don't have 3 monitors. I've got 1. So some of the things that he had in it were kind of more than I needed. So to make things simple, I removed quite a bit of the configuration. And if that's the case, if that's something that you're more like me, then maybe you take a look at these. These are going to be on my dot files at GitHub. So anyway, let's just kind of start. You're looking at executing the auto start and the way bar. So the auto start has the sway BG, which is basically setting the background image. Okay. Now, as far as the other things that are included that are being sourced here, env comes basically straight out of the default Hyprland configuration. Most of the general .conf or a comp file is directly from that default configuration, as well as the input.conf file. So all of that basically is pretty standard. Now where it gets a little bit more, you get to modify stuff a little bit more, is binds and rules. Okay, so for example, I've added a bunch of things, and as far as the key binds are concerned, you can see them right here. You know, exit or kill the active window, or setting what the browser is or the file manager. And you know, even if I want to pull up in Vim, you know, I just set super V, and there it is. Okay, so you get the idea. This, you know, modify to your heart's content. You know, while I'm doing this, you know, as far as moving stuff around, you can change by using super and then the right and left arrow keys. Add the shift key down, and you can switch the two. Okay, pretty, you know, I don't really need to go into this. This is pretty simple. Now the rules is what took me a little bit of time. Okay. So what I found out is that, you know, you put in rules, and as far as floating is concerned, it pretty much takes control of the size. So let me give you calculator as the example. Okay, I didn't really set a size for calculator, but there you go. So if I don't know, let's try that again. Calculator. You know, and it changed basically to the size that it needed to change to. All right, so go back. That's fine. But I wanted a specific size for MPV. Okay, so let me go over here and open up. And I think I have a sample file. So I'm just going to hit open with this. So there you go. I wanted it that size. So I wanted it 1280 by 720, at least on this machine. Okay, I wanted it centered, and I wanted it floating. So those three rules basically all for MPV. If there is a way to do this on one line of code, I just didn't know how to do it, honestly. Okay. Now the another cool thing is that when you set something and you save that file, it happens immediately. So like with Genie, for example, see how there's a background here? You can see it. It's kind of, you know, the opacity is 0.85. So you see a little bit of the background in the you know, behind that window. But if I just comment that out and save it, boom, it's gone. It's really cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that again. And there it is. The opacity is set back to 0.85. So anyway, this is what I've got so far. Okay, this is what I have so far. Hope that you, if you are interested, have a look at the dot files, and talk to you soon.